Watch who?
Hello.
And welcome to Watch Who, a Doctor Who podcast. I'm Mark.
I'm Sarah. And I'm new to Watching Who.
Watching for the very first time.
Very first time.
Yes, the quest is the quest. And we're on a quest. You join us, listener. We are...
Was that one of the lines from it?
Well, yeah, they say it a lot.
Do they? Oh, they do. They do talk about the quest. You're right, yeah.
Well, we're just floating down to the planet's core.
I enjoyed that bit.
Zero gravity. Here we go. We're just floating down.
Yeah.
Let's just float the entire time that we're...
I think it'll take that long.
Well, I told you it's a controversial one this week.
Yeah.
Underworld. But before we start, I've got a couple of updates actually.
Yeah.
I haven't done a Neighbours update for a very long time, and this might be the last one because I didn't get back to him for a very, very long time, and then he's just put, "Fine, we're done." So I think that was the last message ever. So over a year and a half.
Oh my God.
He's been asking me for these tapes, and I couldn't have got back in touch because it would have just gone round in circles, as I've explained before. So there was absolutely no point.
You'd already sent him everything, so...
I sent him tons, and then he wanted it in all different formats and stuff. So I think it's best left as that now. So the Neighbours saga is over. As far as I know. For now. Yep. And also, I wanted to get your opinion on some Doctor Who Twitter activity that's been going on. Right. I don't know if you noticed. So, obviously, Doctor Who fans are never happy about anything. So with the whole Russell T Davies coming back and everything, there's loads of hype now about the next series, David Tennant, all of that stuff. When you saw him regenerate the other week. I did,
yeah, watch that.
There was a big sort of discussion about when she regenerated into David Tennant, the clothes regenerated at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
He was in his suit. And that hasn't happened before. Like, it doesn't usually happen. The only time it happened was when William Hartnell went into Patrick Troughton and the clothes changed. But we haven't got that on video, so we can't see it. But apparently it happened then. And it hasn't, as we've seen since, he's always in, like, whatever the previous Doctor's worn. So there was an interview with Russell T Davies, and he explained why that happened.
Oh, okay. I just presumed it was something to do with the fact that it's gone back to David Tennant.
Well, he says, "I was very certain that I didn't want David to appear in Jodie's costume. I think the notion of men dressing in women's clothes, the notion of drag, is very delicate," he said. "I'm a huge fan of that culture and the dignity of that. It's truly a valuable thing, but it has to be done with immense thought and respect. With respect to Jodie and her doctor, I think it can look like mockery when a straight man wears her clothes." Basically, he's saying that was the reason why. So, I mean, he said, I guarantee you it's the only photograph some of the papers would print for the rest of time if they showed David Tennant in supposedly a woman's... So everybody, all of Doctor... There was so much... we've had, like, Not My Doctor. Now it's like, Jodie's my doctor. All the fans that dress up.
Yeah.
Sort of men and women, whatever. Everyone's like, it's genderless. It's not supposed to... So there's this huge thing, and it's quite surprising from Russell T Davies. So that was the drama on Twitter.
Oh, I missed that.
About, like, why is that an issue? Why is that a thing? So that...
Because I've never thought of her outfit as being gendered.
Well, it's quite a genderless costume in the first place, which is why loads of fans have worn it, and it's not like... Do you know what I mean? It's just such a weird... It's just a really odd...
Well, male and female, because, I mean, it's quite... She's got, like, those... They're like dungarees, but they're not. It's like a jumpsuit, isn't it? With her striped top, and then the long
coat. It's like a coat. It's a striped top with the braces and a jacket, a long jacket.
And trousers. So that was why.
So,
why did I think it was dungarees? Maybe I thought something was up.
They look sort of dungaree-ish.
Oh, it's probably because of them,
So that was the latest drama. Like, everyone was like... 13 is my doctor, all then showing, going up, like, wearing all these fans wearing, like, the costume. It's so funny. It's gone completely the other way. Whatever happened, but whatever showrunner, doctor, whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
Everyone's always going to... But I don't know. I thought that was actually quite a weird point.
It is a bit, but I do understand what he's saying in terms of like, well, that is the only picture that they would show.
Yeah, I do. I can see
and
that.
I can see that because purely from like I don't necessarily agree with the statement, as in, no, I do, because you know it, but it's not drag. It wouldn't be drag. So maybe that's why I don't agree with it slightly. But because it was going back to a man, I think, and also let's be honest, it's just going back to a white man. Like I think we're going back to like a previous. That it's not like it moves to something new. So I think there's like that as well, where we're so used to the look of what David Tennant's Doctor is, to him to have been in another Doctor's. I don't know. Maybe it's just, he's right. I think it would have been like, that's all they would have. But I don't necessarily agree with the reasoning of it.
Yeah, I just think it's really odd. So that all kicked off, basically.
Yeah, I just presumed.
But I can see why people have kicked off, actually. I do understand that. I
genuinely just presumed it was something to do with the fact that, like, as a previous reincarnation, it had reincarnated back into a previous form, whereas maybe when you're new, everything's new, so you're still in old until you find what you are. I don't know. I'm literally thinking about it.
But it is also odd in that throughout the whole of that, in some of that episode, it's a bit of a spoiler, but whatever, the Master is in Jodie's outfit for like a good chunk of that episode. So it completely, but Rusty Davies wasn't in charge of that part. He was only in charge of the regeneration. So that's quite funny. Anyway, and obviously everyone's kicking off about Disney and that Doctor Who now has too big a budget, or will have too big a budget. They're all complaining about that as well.
What?
So you can't, but it does just goes to show.
Surely they'll be, oh my gosh.
Everyone's worried it's going to have too much. They're going to be worried it's got too much of a budget now.
Oh, bloody hell. Oh my God. I swear sometimes, like, there is no pleasing. There is no pleasing some people. Oh my God.
No. I know, if you told William Hartnell he'd be part of the Disney empire, he'd be loving it, wouldn't he?
Bless him, but like, not like if you thought Disney back then to what Disney is now. The absolute machine that is Disney. And also bear in mind, it's not, I mean, because let me just get this right. Because we knew anyway that it was going to be part of Sony. That was already out in the public domain, wasn't it? Because Russell T Davies' company got bought by Sony.
Yeah.
And Sony, I'm sure, was bought by Disney.
I think they're all I don't know. They're all linked, aren't they?
Yeah. So I'm sure, like, because Disney buys everything. And I'm pretty sure they bought something that was in a big merger. And so you don't even have to put that together to realize that if they owned Sony, at some point it would have linked. I think like, as someone watching this through BritBox, so I will talk about this in a minute, BritBox, I think like it's going to completely open up the fan base, and maybe that scares people.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's going to get, I mean, first and foremost, they are the distributors in the rest of the world. We're going to have it on the BBC, and then Disney Plus will be the rest of the world. So I think it's going to open up, all of that, and probably show the old series will go on Disney Plus. We'll have Keys and Marinus in every country across on Disney Plus. Maybe. You're right. I think it will open things up, and maybe people are a bit like,
maybe there's some fear to that as well, because previously it was this thing that fans have had the possession of, in a way. I mean, in order to watch it, I mean, you're either in the UK and you had access to BBC, or BritBox, which is quite small, really, in the scheme compared to the other platform giants, or you had to buy it. You had to like actually invest in it, and you had to go and commit to buying these series and things. So it being on a massive platform as Disney is huge, because it means that it's going to reach audiences that may never have even heard of it or engaged with it. It's kind of like, and this is a terrible example, I mean, like, but it's the only thing I can think of right now, okay? So, like, people that like musical theatre, you're in, like, your little club, and then Glee came on TV, and suddenly everyone loved musical theatre songs and that sort of stuff. And then you're like, well, it's not quite that, is it? Because, like, it's not quite the same, but it sort of made it suddenly more mainstream and acceptable in a way that, like, it hadn't previously, but it wasn't quite the same. So do you know what I mean? It's not quite a great example, but
should we go into today's story then?
Well, yeah, I thought you had to, oh no, you've said it. I thought you'd have a news, but I think it's literally just those two things, isn't it?
So Underworld. How did you watch this?
Underwhelming. No. I was literally waiting to make that and you ruined it. So I just said it. I'm so sad. No, how did I watch this? I know what I was going to say. Sorry, because we just got distracted. BritBox. I was just about to talk about BritBox because it is related to how I watch this. So, it's November. I always find November weird. I think a mix of things, but basically, what has been getting me through this week, what is Sarah watching, listeners, is Poirot.
Oh,
because it's on BritBox.
Poirot weather. Yes.
It's perfect Poirot weather. Because basically, I don't want to go outside. Also, listeners, I've done all my Christmas shopping. I finished it 2 weeks ago. Mark's tutting his head. It is done. So I'm just saying, I'm not quite at the stage of watching Christmas films or anything like that, but I'm slowly doing the wrapping, just making a start on it, getting it done. I just thought I'd get it out the way. Just get it done before I got tempted by any of the sales to buy things. Just got it out the way. And then I just sit and watch Poirot. And so in between watching this, I've been watching Poirot. And I watched episode 1 and 2 actually together. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I really need a break. And then I watched 7 hours of Poirot.
Oh my God. Well, no, that's brilliant, actually. That sounds perfect.
It was 7. Yeah, I basically gone into my 7th story and I was like, I need to stop because it's late and it's late. I can't go into another hour-long story. They're 50 minutes. And I was like, I can't go into another 50-minute story. Sarah, go to bed. And then the next day I was like, okay, I need to watch this. We were supposed to record and we'd already decided it wasn't going to happen. And I couldn't. I had to keep watching Poirot. And I just... And actually, I nearly sent you a message, and because I'm shit and can't say, I'm terrible. I write messages and then forget to hit send, do it all the time. I actually wrote you a whole message being like, I'm really sorry. I've not watched any of the rest of this because I've been watching Poirot for 2 days.
Oh, do you know what? I put off watching this as well. I did episode 1 when we were going to record a few days ago. I did maybe 1. I thought, I'll just do it on the day so it's a bit more fresh. And then I didn't. I just couldn't. And then I did episode 1 again. I did 1 and 2 last night.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I just can't carry on. I ended up watching Jane McDonald videos on YouTube. And I thought, that's better than Underworld Part 3.
Well, we've just gone back in time. We're just let's just watch other things. Yeah.
So then I did episode 3 on my lunch break today. And then I've done episode 4 just recently. I just thought, I just can't. There's not...
Yeah, I did
say...
3 last night when I got back from quizzing. And then I did episode 4 on my lunch break.
There's just not much going on in this one.
No, it's an odd one because the story is just nah. It's not bad. Yeah. That's how I felt about it. I liked some of the characters. There's 2 that I liked. That's it.
Well, I think part 1, I feel like part 1 is on its own because that doesn't have as many production issues as the rest. When I said last week they've run out of money, they literally were going to go and film in caves and they couldn't afford it. So the whole rest of the thing had to be done on a green screen, as you can probably tell.
Also, I quite liked it in a way. And this is going to sound a bit controversial maybe, but I quite liked that it was tried. As in, what am I trying to say?
Tried?
They tried it. They did a whole episode. They tried it. Do you know what I mean? It's so early, the technology still. It's not what we know today. And there's points where it works really well, actually. There's odd moments where I'm like, you could imagine they're in the cave. The points where it doesn't work well is when someone enters and they're obviously just standing on something that doesn't move and stuff like that. That's not their fault. And this is like, it's so early on. Still, this technology, I know we've been seeing it for a few years, and it has improved since we first saw it, when you could literally see the green screen or the blue screen still there sometimes. But I can kind of like, it's not wonderful, it's not great, but I can forgive it in that they were trying to find a way to make the story work, and it was a story that involved caves, and they've used what they have, and obviously they have no money. I'd rather that than an absolutely awful shit set that is just the same thing over and over and over again. That one little, I don't know. I appreciate that they tried it, even if the technology wasn't as wonderful as we expect now and see.
Yeah, okay, the production stuff. And I have said, like with Invisible Enemy and the prawn and stuff, I was really harsh on that.
Yeah,
I mean, that looks amazing compared to this.
Yeah,
I should have saved all that for this. But the problem is as well, yep, they're doing their best. Basically, there was this recession going on. The inflation went up so much. They budgeted for this, to go to the caves and all that. But then inflation went up so much that they were like, oh, yeah, we haven't actually got the money now. It was that bad. But my problem now watching it, and I haven't really watched this, I've never really wanted to watch this one, and it's in the fan polls, it's like the right down there, out of like at the bottom.
Yeah.
Really bad. My problem is as well, okay, yes, they tried, but there's not a decent script to back it up. It's not even like it's an entertaining script and there's great characters and you know what's going on a lot and there's explanation.
And that's my flaw.
That's the problem.
That's my biggest issue.
That's my bigger issue than the actual production. And yeah, some of those caves are good, the way that there's sort of depth in a way.
Yeah, I think...
Okay, great.
Sometimes it works really well. There were some points when they were moving through, it worked really well, particularly when it was just like the Dr. Leela and... What's his name?
He's the
only one that I liked of the...
Well, Tunnel, Edas? I want to say Edas.
I'm going to call him Caveman. I really like Caveman. I thought, like, his acting was quite genuine. We've not had someone that, like... I quite liked him. His acting wasn't campy, or it felt quite genuine, and, like, they don't know. I don't know. We've not had that style in a while. It was different to... the last time that we had a scared little prisoner, which was like 2 episodes ago.
Scared little prisoner. Who do we have who's a scared little prisoner?
One that tried to walk off the roof and they saved him, and then...
Oh, from the Sunmakers. Yeah, that was last week. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, we literally have just had this, but he played it in a different way, and I quite liked it. It could have been really campy and a bit twee, and it wasn't actually. He felt really genuine in his like fear in it, and I thought he was really good.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, okay. When I first saw him, we'll start going through. I've got some notes. Actually, I've only got notes on part 1 and 2. I didn't bother writing anything for 3 and 4. So.
Then we go rogue.
But when I first saw him, I thought, oh great, he's going to be our supporting character of the week with the Doctor and Leela. We're going to chat about him. I can't tell you any part of his character. He didn't have a character to me. He was just a non-entity to me. I can't believe you even got that much out of watching him, because none of these people you learn anything about. You have goodies, baddies running up and down a cave. There's nothing to them at all. There's nothing to say, Idas or Edas or whatever his name. We don't even know his name. He was a slave and he got hurt and Leela carried him around a bit. Nothing else to it. He was just there really as an extra person.
But actually, he played to it, and he wasn't too campy with it. And by campy, I mean sometimes it can be a bit over-the-top theatre drama. They can be a bit like, as if they're on stage rather than on screen. And he played well to the fact that he was on camera. He had it to a toned level that I thought worked. It wasn't his fault that that's what his character was, because no one had good characters. And then the only other character that I thought was good in this, I'm taking out our trio here of Dr. Leela and K9, by the way, was on the ship, the one that didn't like the Doctor and they shot him with a gun and then he was nice.
Oh, yes. He was called... I've got our characters here. I bet someone out there is an expert on this story. I'm so sorry for you. He was Herrick.
Herrick.
Mm.
Yeah, so I liked him. I thought, again, out of all of them, and I guess that has to be one there was like one that was more of a captain, I don't remember which one was which, but he had a little bit more, did more, a little bit more substance to it, a bit more fight and bite, and I liked that. So they were literally only 2 out of all the characters, and there were a lot. I mean, the guys that were in the black with the like black.
I said that I called them the Gimps. Yeah.
What made me laugh is, so they were all in black, but one of them had black shoulder pads, and I was like, "Oh, he's the boss." And I was like, "It's the fact that he's got shoulder pads that I've determined he's the boss." And I don't know what that says about me.
I didn't get, because they were in those black gimpy things, and then they took their helmets off in episode 1 or 2, and they had like human faces.
Oh, that was much further on, Mark. That was like 3, 4. We didn't see them until like 3 or 4.
But then later on they took off their black things and they had those gold things on underneath.
No, then right at the end they have human faces again.
Yeah, but so they had like a mask and then their face?
I don't know
why.
I don't know. Literally, they meant nothing to me. Every time they appeared, I was like, "Oh yeah, they're the home planet ones," but they're not. I don't know who they are.
I mean, give me sequins everywhere from Invisible Enemy any day compared to this. This is like, we're going to just shove a black cloth over your face. It's because we've run out of money. There is no, like, they were terrible costumes. And then there was the ones with like the white sheets on. They just gave them blankets to put on.
Yeah.
Like, there was no costume design there at all. There was no money. And luckily, those slave people had like rags and stuff. There probably wasn't enough material to go around anyway.
They were probably from like the first episode, when they were all in the caves. It was the same costumes. Some of them, I think, had the same hair pieces. I think our guy, Caveman, had like, what's he called from the first story?
Oh, like Cal.
Cal's hair. I think he had Cal's hair.
Cal's hair. We found this hair from
Cal's
episode
hair was
1.
kind of like, that's what Moppy Beatles look, and that's what Caveman's was.
Susan had that hair as well, actually. It's probably
they all have the same hair. I reckon they were just like, let's go really far back. Like, let's see what's really in the archives that people won't remember.
They were like, what have we got? What can we just put together? Well, like, yeah, well done for trying. Right, I'm going to go through the story here and just see what else comes up. So we start off.
I don't know how we're going to go through this story because I don't remember what the story was about.
Okay, well, actually,
I followed it, but
well, the whole, if you talk to fans or whatever about this, Underworld, they say that's the one that's based on Greek myths. So the whole idea, all the characters' names are slightly different, slightly just off from a Greek myth.
Is that why they had that whole Jackson-Jason conversation at the end?
Yeah, so it's supposed to be like Jason and the Argonauts going to find the Golden Fleece. The ship is P7E, which is Persephone, the goddess of whatever.
Okay.
And then you've got the Underworld and Hades, and it's all supposed to be literally like the same as this Greek myths. I don't really know my Greek myths too well, but all of those.
I know a little bit of that. Like, no, I know about that.
Slightly off. So that was the whole idea. It didn't really, because I don't know it. The sort of in jokes are there, but I think they've based it too much on that, going, "Oh, aren't we clever doing this?" And then actually you don't have a story. Anyway,
yeah.
I will start with what I've got. Leela's flying the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Which is quite good. She knows her buttons, I put.
Yes, she does.
Like,
and she's
doing really well. So it's a nice progression for her by this point. And she got K9, and it's all nice and not as awkward in the TARDIS this time. It's a bit more chill. It feels a bit more relaxed, and I think we're used to that now. Anyway, they're all like on the edge of space. They've flown to the edge of space, and there's this spacecraft on a black hole thing and all of that. It's a really good spaceship model, actually. That is actually good, I thought.
Yeah,
well done on that.
There was some... okay, I think it's really easy to diss on the production here, but considering there's no money, I think actually... Go on.
Can I just diss on the production, though? Because there's stuff like... Then you see that spaceship set with our crew, and you've got at the back those windows, so later on you see all the rocks and the...
Oh, yeah.
70s lounge, basically. That first shot, I don't know if you noticed, it's green. They have not put anything in there. That first shot is just green through those windows. And then the rest of the shots they put in space. They didn't even put anything in the background.
Mine did. See, on BritBox, I'd have noticed that.
That very first shot,
it's
only one shot. It's green. Go back and watch. It is there. I mean, it's on the DVD, and it's just green. And then the rest... they fill it in and it's space and everything, and you see it. But that very opening one, I was like, they haven't even bothered to put anything back. Did they really run out of time and money? That's a bit shoddy. I like, it's green. They left the green screen in. It's terrible.
I'm going to
It's
look
not
at
a
the
good start.
box and see if it's
Have
been
a look.
upgraded.
Have a look, everyone. But anyway, there's green screen, and it's a nice set. They've obviously spent all of their money on this spaceship set. It's redressed later on for the evil spaceship set. It's exactly the same, like the steps and all of that. But I don't know. It's all of these spaceships, and this is what has happened the last few stories as well. And this is my last rant about production. It doesn't really look like a spaceship. They're on the bridge of this spaceship. It's a 70s sofa. They've just gone to like 70s DF. They're just lounging around. It's not very spacey. It's the 70s coffee lounge.
What year are we in now?
77.
Okay,
I think.
Interesting.
So I don't know. I just don't really. It's a big set, very impressive, and the costumes are cool. But 70s lounge for me, not my favourite. And as we've said before, crew of the week. So it's Jackson, Herrick, Orf, and Tala. Not really much to them. This is their best episode, that opening episode, because we find out a bit about. So they're on a quest. The quest is the quest. We've got to say that every time. To go and find their people. They've been travelling for like thousands of years,
like 100,000 years, I think it's said, because they keep regenerating.
And they keep regenerating, and there is a little bit of stuff about the Time Lords knew who they were. There's a little bit of a Time Lordy link there, which may be where the regeneration stuff comes from, but they don't make a big part of it because the Doctor knows who they are, and they've been travelling and just regenerating again and again on the quest to find their people. So okay, a good idea, and it's the Minyans of Minyos, and that I think that's supposed to be slightly off. Is it the Minyans are a real Greek ancient race? Okay. So it's just a slight change of that. You get all that, and you get a bit of mythology, but apart from that, they're not great. They're not rememberable characters. It's all just a bit bland. The whole thing with Leela and this pacifier gun, I thought that was interesting. I thought, what the hell's going on? It's not great for her character though, because they do. It's a good idea.
I thought it was a really good idea, and I thought they'd use it again, and it was never used again.
But she goes a bit sort of drunk, and then she gets a bit upset, and she's like, "You're all laughing at me." I thought, oh, and then she's sort of sitting there in a mood. I thought, oh, this isn't great for Leela. It's not a nice.
But she's gone from one. I guess it's like she's sort of a fighter warrior, and she's sort of been made fun of, hasn't she? But she hasn't. She sort of sees it that way, maybe, as I don't know.
I felt that was a bit uncomfortable, because then she's like, "Oh, I love that name," and she goes off with it, like, and I felt a bit like, I don't know. It felt a bit like, I know this is a complete extreme, but sort of like it's like her drink's been spiked, and do you know what I mean? It's a bit like that in a way.
I quite like that. Like it was a very simple. What it does. Like this, it doesn't diffuse you, it doesn't hurt you as such. It just removes that anger. Because they used it on the other guy that was angry at the Doctor. They used it on her. So we're really clear. And then it's never really used again.
No, and that could have been brought back. They could have gone out and used that. And that comes from, again, a Greek myth. I think Orf is there's an Orpheus or an Orpheus that uses the pacifier.
I see.
It comes from Greek myths again. But yeah, it's a great idea, but not used in any narrative way. We see the regeneration, the ship's worn out. They get K9. K9 comes in and basically steers the ship. Yeah. It's very useful. There's that shield gun that Leela has. That's quite good. She's always happy when she's got a weapon or finds a new weapon. And she's like carrying that for the rest of the story, basically, the shield gun. She loves that. And then there's that idea at the end of the episode where all these rocks are being formed. I don't know if that's actually possible. So there's the ship and the black hole, and the gravity brings all the rocks to them like a magnet. So that's the end of the cliffhanger. These are terrible cliffhangers in this whole story, where all these like rocks are forming around them and they're going to be trapped in there. It reminds me of, I watched The Sky at Night the other week on BBC. Have you ever watched The Sky at Night?
No. I might have actually.
Well, because it's going for like, I don't know, 60 years.
Yeah,
it had like
it's with
Patrick Moore, didn't it?
What's his name though, isn't it?
I don't. Well, I don't know who they are. This was like a live Q&A with all these scientists. It was quite interesting. I have no idea what anyone was talking about.
Because they used to have a scientist, and then what's his name? Oh my gosh, Brian Cox did it for a while.
Oh, he wasn't on the one I saw. These are all people working on like the new telescope.
The new telescope. I saw one the other night on it. Like, but it was an old one, but it was on when it came on.
It's a bit like sort of nature programs where you can just sort of watch it in the background and it sort of washes over you. But it sounded really interesting, and all these people in the audience were like, if this goes here into space, what do you think of blah, 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 this galaxy doing this and all this stuff? And I was like, I don't know what they're talking about, but they're all very enthusiastic. And they're making plans for this rocket and someone going to Mars and all this stuff. It's great. It's nice to watch. Anyway, I don't know if this would be on the Sky at night with it actually, if this is possible, but it's a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
and just get out of it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and then is that the planet? That planet that's formed, is that this planet?
No, you see, I thought that's what it was, and then they see another planet which has formed in that way, and that basically, cut a long story short, that is where this race that they're like descendants, 100,000 years, have obviously crashed in the same way onto this rock, which is still forming, and that's where all these people are. The concept, though, like, you have all these people like mining rocks, and you got these baddie gimps. A bit like last week, what is it all for? What are they doing? I know they've been there for 1,000 years, and that's their, society? We see a couple of caves, and that's all they do. What are they for? Why are the baddies baddie?
Last week was the one with the money, though, wasn't it?
Money, yeah.
I like that one. That one I found more of a parody thing. That was fine. This one, I genuinely had no idea what it was trying to achieve.
That's the thing. There's no story, because then those spaceship people are wandering around for like 3 episodes. You don't really see them after that episode. They just wander around, and the baddies chase them, and we meet Idas or Edas or whoever. What's the rest of the world? Why are these baddies here? I think the spaceship crashed, and it's sort of the Golden Fleece is that voice at the end that's holding the race DNA or whatever. So it's developed to protect it. So it's like a mad computer, basically, I think. But then why are they all mining rocks? Because they say they need food. They're just mining for thousands of years for what?
They eat rocks. They said that. Because he makes a joke about Blackpool.
Yeah, I knew you'd remember that. I knew you'd make it. It's the only fun line in the whole thing. But I just don't really get it. So part 2 is just running up and down these fake corridors, and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to fumigate." Someone turns a dry ice machine on. End of the episode. Next episode, they switch the dry ice machine off. Carry on running around. I'm just. What? I mean, I know they made effort, but they're making effort on just a really boring script.
Well, I'll tell you what I didn't understand. They bumped into that guy, the caveman guy, and then they were talking about the fact that they've revolutionised. Is what my dad was. And we saw the dad getting removed for having those ideas. So then they were like, we're going to go and get the dad. And I don't remember them seeing what happened after it. Did they get the dad? Did they...
So by part 3, the dad was still being tied up. It took him from episode 1 to episode 3 for nothing to happen to him, and they rescued him, and they rescued all the people, didn't they? At the end, so I think he was just in that crowd.
But what? That's it. They get him out, and then we never saw it. He was just abandoned. He's freed, and then it's I don't know. It was really odd, because that was the whole point. That was the whole point that they were going through and running to get to him. They went, and that's why they went down, which we are now in, the tunnel with no gravity. That's why they were sinking.
And they went down there, and that's where the other spaceship was.
And I know that they gave up, but they went through that because it would get them there quicker.
But then they gave that guy. They said it was the DNA, but it was bombs. But then I think the doctor swapped them back again, and then everything blew up.
Yeah.
And K9's up and down somewhere helping out every now and then.
K9, I'd every time they sent K9 on a little trip, it just made me lol. Because it was just off you go, and he's like, okay. And then you just never see him again. And then, the last I heard was he was off going to find the doctor and that, and off he goes. And I thought, they're stuck in a tunnel somewhere. I thought we were going to see K9 shoot through something to get him. We didn't. They got freed by I mean, oh God, that really annoyed me. The black cloth people, like he said something, he's talking to them, and then one of them just collapsed, right? Dead. And the other one just walked away. Did you see that?
No, like, I don't remember that.
Like, they're there with the things, and two of them have walked off, and they're like, kill him. He's like, oh, you don't want to do that. And he does something to him that she's like, doctor, are you okay? And the other one, there's two, like, that are supposed to kill him, and the other one just walked away. And I just, like, there were so many weird things like that.
And the bit where they were like, oh, we need to get down where the rocks are being crushed, so we're going to hide in this mine cart thing. And so the Doctor need to get in, and they're going along. And I thought the whole idea was that they're going to go where the rocks are, go into the bit and escape. And then that guy collapses and accidentally pushes them over. Big cliffhanger moment, end of the episode of this cart with this bit of cloth going over. You got to wait. And then they're hanging on, then they climb out, and there's no point to it. I just didn't understand why. There was no... The narrative of this whole story, there's no drive, there's no urgency.
There's no drive.
What is everybody's point? There's no... I think it's that, and coupled with it's a bad production, makes it just so bad. If it was, okay, Invisible Enemy, Prawn, or Image of the Fendel, or whatever... If Image of the Fendel, we didn't really get that story, but there was a good concept behind it. If all of that, if they were like, we can't film at this house or outside in the forest, we're gonna do it all on green, at least there would be a story there. We would be like, oh, there's this skull and ancient times and all this, and we got the scientist. If that was all done on blue screen and it was a fake, like, I don't know, they got a doll's house and had to film it and pretend they were in that. Great.
Well, let's be honest, the prawn one, the only issue we had really was the prawn, and it was you that had an issue with the prawn.
Just going on to the prawn because it's a little bit more interesting than Underworld. On Twitter, on Twitter,
yeah.
Can I just see? So John Hall was tweeting us,
Hi John,
things about the story. He said, and I've never heard this before, but he said that the nucleus thing was shedding so many fiberglass filaments that the studio had to be shut down while health and safety determined if it was safe enough for the actors to continue. Like,
there you go, Mark.
I've never heard of that before, but that's... okay, so you make a costume that's, one, dangerous and you can't walk in. Anyway, sorry, that was prawn talk. We will not do... But I put out on Twitter that we were doing Underworld.
Yeah.
And I think we got some replies on this.
Oh, go on. Share.
So, well, John Hall again.
Hi, John.
For me, this is easily Tom's worst story, mainly because it commits the cardinal sin of Doctor Who being paralysingly dull, boring and tedious. Agreed. Someone called the brigade leader.
Hi, brigade leader.
It only gets worse from here. Horror of Fang Rock is the last golden era Tom Baker serial, as far as I'm concerned. Oh dear, well, he doesn't like it. Will Hadcroft, I think there are worse. Rather than snigger at the CSO, I see it as pioneering the concept of blue green screen, leading to CGI. The idea of superimposing a whole background onto blue screen was ambitious, like the concept of the Minions and their history with the Time Lords too. Okay, I know, say it's pioneering, but we've seen great CSO in the Third Doctor's time, way back.
But I didn't think this was awful. I just don't think it was helped by a really poor story. Like I said to you, there were points when they were moving that I thought it worked really well. There are times when the caves working like that did work, and they did. But
because actually, if they'd gone to location and filmed all of that,
it wouldn't have changed the script. It wouldn't have changed.
It's not changed. They're just running up real caves for no point rather than fake caves for no point. Yeah. So I know the scene. I don't think it was pioneering, though. I don't think that's a bit giving them too much credit, I think. Yes, they did what they could do. Because we had Invisible Enemy, they were going in the Doctor's brain and that, in Up and Down and stuff. Perfectly.
It was interesting, I think, as a concept to do the majority of the episode that way, which hasn't happened before.
Well, they literally had no choice. It was that or they cancelled the programme.
It's interesting because I think it... And in that sense, I guess it could be seen as pioneering because if they hadn't done that, it would have been cancelled. And I guess it's sort of an experiment of like, how much can they try? It's the biggest shame here is the script. It's not...
maybe the performances aren't amazing because everyone's concentrating so hard on a blue screen and where they have to stand and what they've got to do.
Oh yeah,
and all that. So maybe that's why the performances aren't great. The Doctor and Leela, I think Leela comes out best in this whole story. She's still got the best lines and
yeah. Actually, I don't think the Doctor's too. I don't think anyone, considering, is that bad. And like the fact that I can remember two of them, I think the worst. Like the worst of the black cloth people, I can't remember any. I can't tell you anything about them.
Well, they weren't interesting. I can't tell you even why they were there.
Yeah, I don't even think they had names. Like they might have had a name as a race, but I couldn't tell you more than that.
No, I don't really know in the story or why they look like that or what. I wonder if they all had their faces covered up so that they could reuse footage of like the same ones again and again, and you didn't have to have the same. Do you know what I mean? They could make it look like it was more of them. But I just think it was an odd. It didn't fit. I think the costumes of them, they didn't fit with that world of. I think that was it as well. If they were going to do Greek myths, they could have leaned in a bit more and done it. And just go Greek myths. Just do sort of Greek with the armor and go a bit more historical, maybe. But set it in the on another planet or something. I don't know. They could have just, but they didn't have the budget, obviously. I suppose. Oh, yeah. This is the toughest one. Yeah, I knew it would be tough, and I knew
it was tough. It's because it's November, and I wanted to watch Poirot instead. So
watch Poirot instead. Everybody, don't bother. That's
my advice.
Yeah.
If you've got BritBox, whack some Poirot on. And just really appreciate David Suchet. Like I do every day.
Okay, well, I don't think we can talk. Be another short one. It was short last week as well. But this is just. As I say, I didn't really write much more because not much else was going on.
No,
there wasn't anything to talk about.
I did struggle.
Make note of. So it's getting this season. I said this season. And
it's a shame because like the previous season was so strong, and actually there are some things I have enjoyed this season, but it has been a real mixed bag.
It gets better. It gets better. This is like the lowest point of
things can only get better.
I will say the next story is called The Invasion of Time.
Ooh, okay.
6 episodes.
What? Okay. 6.
It's got more of a budget though. Well, they'll still have a few budget problems, but it is 6 episodes.
6 episodes. Oh my gosh, we've not had a 6 in a while. I'm going to have to think how I do that.
You might really enjoy it, but I think, well, you'll enjoy it compared to this.
You don't know that. I sometimes surprise you. What else are you watching at the minute, Mark?
What am I watching? Oh, I've just been doing some more Charles Dickens, really. So I watched Oliver Twist, like a 70s Oliver Twist.
Nice.
And Mr. Bumble in Oliver Twist was in Underworld. He was one of the baddies.
Really?
Yeah. I recognised him earlier. I was like, oh, it's Mr. Bumble. That's a surprise.
So funny. That wasn't planned, listeners. I didn't know that.
No. I did see a film.
Oh.
A new film at Everyman Cinema.
Check you out.
It was called A Triangle of Sadness.
Oh, okay. Was it sad?
It's basically talking about like the wealthy and sort of it's a comedy.
Right.
It's also got like a sort of social narrative to it.
Okay.
So it's all these rich people on a cruise, basically, and it all just goes wrong. It's really good. I'll show you. I'll send you the trailer.
Yeah, do. It sounds good.
But it's slightly uncomfortable as well. Oh,
I like
it's quite
like
and when they're all throwing up and puke, it's very graphic. It's very graphic. Just to warn you.
Mark, what did we go and see? And the puppets had sex.
Oh my god, Anomalisa. Oh my god, that was so. They were like knitted sort of puppets that were animated, weren't they? And we had no idea what it was about, did we?
No, we were just like
it was like this cool animated film.
Well, let's go and see it.
It's like an artsy animated film, and then they were like, they just took all their clothes off and having sex. These puppets,
and we were like, "What have we let ourselves in for?"
Yes, That's so weird. Okay, it wasn't that weird. But... I recommend it more than Underworld, though, anyway. Anomalisa.
Yeah, same. I would.
If it's Underworld or Puppets Having Sex, then...
It was really good, though. I did enjoy it, but we had no idea what we let ourselves in for.
It was a bit of a shock, wasn't it? You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at 2watchwho, and you can support us at buymeacoffee.com/2watchwho. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
2 Watch Who.